All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Assemble. My name is High Ruler, and today I'm proud to be joined by Stardust onto the show. Stardust, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Stardust is going to be joining me as for a weekly recap. We'll look back at the week that we had, and then we'll look forward to the week ahead, and we'll talk about all the things happening in Marvel's Avengers. So, this week, guys, we have a lot to talk about. We have the patch. We have all the things surrounding the patch. We have Iron Knight, and just today, it looks like we have a little bit of an email that went out teasing some things ahead of the deep dive for Hawkeye. So let's get into kind of the news here, and we're gonna start off with the blog that came out on Tuesday covering the Wasteland. Stardust, what did you think about that? What did you get out of that blog that came out on Tuesday?
Now, see, I expected it to have a little bit more into it because the way it was hyped up, it sounded like we were going to get like a lot of information,
Mm-hmm.
but more anyway. Whereas obviously we got the cool photos; they look great. Obviously, it was nice to see the little early concepts. It was something people wanted. It was just I feel like there could have been maybe an idea of inspiration behind things rather than just what they were going for, uh, what they were trying to put across. I think
Yeah,
that not like a bit of inspiration, maybe like say they got it from like a comic series or something, maybe put that side by side with the actual photo or something like that. I don't know. I feel like with these articles and these things, the thing that they need to do is just more, you know?
yeah. I mean, like, I mean, that's like the perfect. That's the thing I've been harping on them for weeks about now is that it seems like the idea is there, but there's no meat on the bones of these things, right? So one of the things that I've talked about is doing something like this, right? Like I've literally said like this is something they should do, and then they go and do it, but then it's very bare bones, and I don't know if it's bare bones because of like they're trying to keep things kind of under wraps with the deep dive coming in a few days here. But one of the things they could have done is, like you said, go back to some inspiration, talk about where these things are coming from, what's really inspiring them. They also could talk about kind of the technical background behind a lot of this stuff, right? Like what goes into kind of making these environments, what goes into the workflow into kind of building these environments out that we're going to play in, right? There's so much more they could tap into that it's almost like a disservice to them, and it's a disservice to us that they're not really going that far. And it's one of the things that I really feel is like a missed opportunity in the communication. And I can sit here and talk about like a larger communication problem, but in terms of the week to week stuff, it seems like there's so much more they could tap into. There's so much brain power that they have that they could tap into, and they're just not. It seems like it's such an easy win, and they're just not doing it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think like obviously there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that a lot of the community don't know in regards to what happens behind the scenes. And I think that obviously, everyone has a right to feel frustration and so on and so forth. But if they can tap deeper and sort of show us, look, this is how much work goes into these things, especially work from home, then I mean, obviously some people may see it as them harping for sympathy. I can understand that view, but also a lot of people would see it as like, okay, now I understand it isn't as easy as just, okay, why isn't it done in like a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Sure.
isn't it? And I think that doing it like that would give people this level of like, okay, it's annoying, but the work is clearly going to be worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No,
um,
yeah. I mean, that's a good point, right? And that's one of the things about outlining the process involved, right? Is it taking inspiration from a comic, then it's kind of building it out or trying to like get the scale right, and then it's building missions inside that environment. Then it's putting the art inside that. Then it's a pass through. Like I don't, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know what the fuck goes on with this. And I'm sure for any game developers that just heard that, they're like, yeah, you're fucking wrong, John. But like at the same point, like that's like such a good opportunity to kind of talk the community through like the processes involved in kind of building this game out, right? Like, and to your credit too, it's like the community is kind of at some points is up in arms about kind of how long things take. So why don't you take that as an educational moment and show them like, hey guys, like we understand this your frustration, so but here's how we're doing it, here's kind of what our process is, right? And like maybe things are on fire in that house, and maybe they don't want to show us the fire going on, But at some point, you know, you kind of had to pull the curtain back a little bit and be like, hey guys, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and this is why some things have taken longer, right? Like I just, once again, I don't know why they're not taking these things as an educational moment, and they're not showing us kind of the processes behind how these things kind of work, right? It just, to me, and maybe this is how I am, but I'm like very transparent in kind of what I do, right? Like if I think something, if I feel something, you know, especially kind of on the channel here, I'll say it, right? But I guess like I'm also not really dealing with Marvel and Square Enix, right? Like it's maybe it's different in that regards, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know.
It feels like at the moment the developer team are wanting to be as open as possible, but also want to be as closed in as they can. And obviously, then what you get is you get these really cool, you know, like the developer blog where it's more open than they have been, but there's still that closed in thing of, okay, so what about this? What about that? There's still more questions than answers, even if we do get more answers than we have done before. And it's, you know, it's similar to a lot of the things they do, like the weekly blog, which I'm assuming you'd want to go into a bit later on. But
Yeah, I mean, we could
yeah,
definitely go into that. Yeah.
obviously, you know, and the play with the dev streams are great, but again, it's nothing to really do with the game. Really, it's a lot of, you know, soons, and we'll get into that. It's pretty much stuff they would say on any social channel, and I think that, like you said, it's a good time to educate people. Um, you know, even if only a few people actually listen to it.
Well, I mean, let's get into the weekly blogs now, because like, why not? Like, I guess this, we could branch this out into a communication topic at this point, because I think this is one of the things that, you know, myself, you know, anyone who's watched the channel for many months now has known the communication has been something I've been very critical of, and at some points I've tried to kind of take their side on it, but at some, you know, at other points I've been like very critical of them. Um,
Yeah.
at some points, you know, the weekly blog has just turned into like a copy paste sort of situation. Last week, you know, they didn't even copy paste it correctly with the image not being there, right? Like, so at some
Oh
point,
yeah.
yeah, so you know, and that they obviously went back and fixed it, and then there's been communication issue with the patch notes and stuff. At some point, you know, when it comes to the weekly blog specifically, there's got to be more to it, right? And then taking your point of the dev stream, it almost feels like when Phil talks about things, it almost seems like, why not? And I've said this, I've said this in private channels, I've said this, you know, very publicly. I said, take the stuff that Phil talks about publicly on the dev stream and make that into like a section of on the weekly blog. You know, like, here's what we're working on, here's what we can tell you, you know, small little updates here and there, you know what I mean? Like, and then what you're doing is you're effectively killing two birds with one stone, right? So if you take all that information you put into the weekly blog, well, for the people who don't care for the weekly blog or have been harping on it, now there's something more for them there. And then you're freeing up Phil, Andy, Layla, you're filling up all their time from having to answer these questions by putting it into the weekly blog now. So then they're maybe not getting as many of the questions. And then instead of like Phil having to come out and answer some of these things, he can just say, hey, refer back to the weekly blog for our latest information, right? It almost seems like it's like a no brainer. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. What
It's
do you what do you think? Yeah, please.
it seems like when these dev streams happen, people are glued to them because obviously they want this, you know, they want this different information, but then all Phil has to answer is the same things over and over again. You know, people asking things like, "When's Hawkeye?" right? Even though obviously we've gotten the information and so on, but a lot of the things that, I mean, we still get some information from it. I mean, Iron Man with the cape,
Yeah,
and
yeah, we'll get into that one.
yeah, with, you know, and so on. But I think that at the moment, my biggest problem with the weekly blogs is because if they're going to leave it the way it is, right? If they're just going to leave it as a little what's in the shop, what's in, they have to at least make sure it's professional and it's actually done correctly, because there's been too many weeks where there's been a mistake in the weekly blog. There was a mistake in the patch notes, and I think that when your community is so riled up, you know, even the people who adore this game are starting to sigh a little bit at some of these problems. And I think that you have to treat it as a delicacy. Even a spelling mistake, people are going to get angry about because there's so many mistakes that have been happening that people see a spelling mistake and they think, oh yeah, great, and it's one of them sort of things where if they can do a week perfectly, so a reset, a blog that gives us more information, that's written well, it does a lot for people's self-esteem with the game. Whereas if you've got a bad marketplace and then you check the weekly blog and there's like three spelling errors, people get this feeling of, do they still care? And that's when conversations start coming up.
I mean, that's a great point. Back to September and even into October. I remember when I was doing the weekly blogs, and I'd have to go pull up one of the videos here. I remember when I was first starting out doing coverage for this game, the weekly blogs had so many spelling errors that at some point I think I probably just offered to do it for them. And anyone who knows me and has watched this channel for a long time knows that English may be my first language, but it ain't my best language. Like, I really suck with English at a bunch of points in my life, and I still do to this day, even though I come on here and I talk. I remember I've done videos before with other people. Famously, I did a video with Miller, and then after the video, he's like, "Hey man, you pronounced that word wrong, right?" And I'm like, "Great, thanks, man."
Oh,
That
I
thanks
hate
for that one. Yeah.
that.
So like, so even for me to come out here and say like, yeah, like the blogs have been kind of an issue for a long time. And then for a while seemingly they were good. And then yeah, I mean like it seems like and I'm not trying to harp on whoever's writing them because obviously I mean I don't know what goes in on a day-to-day basis, but I think you're right that like any sort of minor thing that is communicated has to be treated with like the utmost care, because at this point you have a community here who is, one, riled up, and two, starting to also not care at the same time, right? You have
Yeah,
parts of the community who are very vocal in kind of their feelings, but then you have other people who are just kind of fading away now. um so at some point you just kind of have to be like, okay, like anything sort of thing we put out into the public domain has to be at the best of our ability to kind of communicate it. And when we talk about a missed opportunity with the developer blog, or we talk about a week to week kind of thing with the weekly blog, it just feels like they're just missing the target. And it just feels like, once again, I'm on the outside looking in, you're on the outside looking in, we're on the outside looking in, and we're throwing these suggestions at the wall here, and it seems like whenever they try to take one and run with it, they're falling a few short of the goal line here. And we're left asking like, what's going on, and that's the problem. And by and large, I mean, like, that is the biggest problem right now, to me personally, at least.
I think that if from the outside looking in, the ship looked cleaner and the crew looked like, everything was going really swell, no one would ask questions.
Yep.
Therefore, things like, okay, so play with the dev streams, they're good to see, oh, Andy, Layla, and Phil, they seem in good health. Great. Okay, cool. At least they're, and then we'll hear like, because they want to do Clint's combat showcase. It's always good to hear from the combat team and stuff like that. They seem to ramp up this whole, deep dive into the dev team and so on, and we get to hear from more people. And it sounds like there's a lot of passion in this project. I just think that it's either been underestimated or just general mistakes about how sharp and how harsh some of the fan base can be. And I think that a lot of it's passion, a lot of it's obviously people just wanting to be horrible. There is a weird line there, but I think that if they try and make everyone happy, you no one will be happy. And if you try and follow everyone's suggestions, then you're gonna be overwhelmed. But I think something as simple as the weekly blog, that's something that can be 100% improved. And like you said, it seems like a no-brainer to me that it hasn't been improved yet.
And I mean, like I said, like I'm not here to say I have all the answers to all these questions. Obviously, if I did, I wouldn't be kind of in the situation that I am. I'd be making a lot of money right now. But I think when you look at sort of, Phil can come on a weekly show and just kind of give some small answers to some questions. Part of me wonders why they don't kind of come up with like a game plan around that. Like if Phil can kind of freely answer these questions on a weekly stream, why can't that be communicated? And it's cool to like, and I get it. Like there's community members out there that kind of rally that information and kind of recap it and whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know if that should be the community's responsibility to kind of communicate that
Mm,
information out there. Now community can signal boost it, right? Because maybe there's people who don't watch the weekly stream. There may be people who don't check the weekly blog, but that's where the community, it can signal boost those efforts that they're making, so that people kind of fall into line to understand that, like, there's this information that's coming on a blog that every Thursday. Maybe it'll have new information regarding some bugs. Maybe it has some new information regarding some patches. Maybe he'll have this. Maybe he'll have that. But I don't think it's the community's responsibility that every time a weekly stream happens, they have to like take notes and then put the information out there, right? To me, that just seems like we're doing the work for them in a way. But that's just me. I mean, the thing is, I can sit here and like I've been covering this stuff for like weeks on end here, so like I can sit here and talk about this for hours on end. But I think the whole kind of the whole of the problem, the sum of the problem is that they try sometimes, and when they do try, they miss, and then other times they don't try, and it's just like what you know.
yeah, I think it looks worse for them when they try and they miss because, and I don't I know I've sort of come on here and I've sounded quite harsh with my wording, but there's been a lot of times where they've tried to hit the jackpot and they've missed completely, and it's been
Mm.
one of them arms flailing in the air kind of moments, like, oh, come on, because what you want to do is when you hear this information, you want to build this hype for yourself. But the problem is because at the moment, minus K, at least for me, anything that has come out hasn't been to that standard that you want to see it at. So anytime they reveal something and you get this image in your head and then it comes out, whether it's a skin, whether it's a mode or anything, and it turns out that there's a one mistake, and it's just like, oh, come on. Like I noticed with Kate's deep dive. That the gameplay they used looked really choppy, at least in my eyes. And I'm thinking to myself, why did you use choppy gameplay on an advertisement, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a channel trailer having terrible audio, or something like that. And I just think to myself, like, this, all of this needs tender loving care. And I understand you may be busy, but for an average consumer who may have Twitter's their only source of knowledge. Those people may not watch yourself or Lejeune or Tony Bing or whatever, because they might not just be a part of the community. So these social channels are the best ways for average consumers to get this information, but it's just not used effectively enough.
No, true. I mean, like, that's actually a great point. That, it was like the whole. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but remember when gameplay was coming out? I believe it was in June or July, and it was the mission where Thor's on the helicarrier, and there was conversation around that video being choppy as well. I don't know if you remember that, but there was a whole thing about it. And when
Yeah,
you talk about Kate's video being kind of choppy, that just sprung into my mind. I'm like, oh no, this has been a symptom of a bigger problem for like so many more months than we think now. Like, you know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah. Like, and that's the problem, is like, it doesn't take, it probably takes about, I don't know, like, just even if the thing is, it doesn't matter how long it takes. You know what I mean? If you're doing an advertisement for one of your characters or your game, the last thing you want it to look is choppy and bad, right?
Yeah.
And when I watched the deep dive for Kate, I wasn't interested. I'll be honest. My friends know it, and I was thinking to myself, oh, this is, because of the choppy gameplay, and because of, I was more interested in Clint's little trailer than anything else. Kate was. an afterthought. But then they did the combat showcase, and they showcased Kate in action in the game, and the gameplay actually looked smooth for once, and the stream actually went well. And I was like, okay, I'm hyped. I love the sword. I love everything. Let's do this, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the fact that a little stream like that with just showing gameplay that didn't look bad compared to like a proper over the top, welcome to the war table where Kate can do this and this, and it didn't do anything for me. And I think that I can understand why people were hyped by it, but the moment that I saw the choppy gameplay and stuff, I was kind of like, I'm zoned out.
Sometimes I guess the saying is sometimes a little goes a long way, and
Yeah.
when you compare kind of a big advertisement push versus like a combat stream, like sometimes just doing a combat stream may be obviously, and like once again, like you gotta do like the main advertisement for the casuals or whatever, but there's still a lot to be said for sometimes the littlest thing can kind of push you over the edge and give you the most gain, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I once again, I think this is all a bit like a symptom of a bigger problem, and we can kind of segue into kind of the bigger problem here. We can kind of take this communication to the 1.4.2 patch that came out, because there's a
Yes.
lot to talk
Yes.
about here. So I'm gonna
Oh.
like I'm gonna yeah, and I'm gonna let you start off because it sounds like you have a lot that you want to cover with this one. So you start, and I'll follow along with you on this one.
All right, so it first was like written down, and I don't. This is me, just I don't know what the word is, but I'm gonna try and quote it, but I'm not gonna be able to quote the full thing as I can't remember every single word. Right.
Yep.
So it essentially said once you get past power level 80, right, you won't get blue gear. Now that wow, right? That sounds for especially while they're doing the gear rework. We're very well established that gear needs an improvement, right?
Yep.
So the idea of just you're going to always see purples and legendary stuff that you can at least look at, right? Is fantastic. And then because obviously Calyx was on the case, good old Calyx. And then it was, oh, okay, it's only in Vault. So I went, okay, I'll test it out. So I went into a Vault mission, killed an enemy, dropped to blue. Like, what's going on? Right. And then it was, oh, you have to beat the Vault. And I was like, what? So it went from the whole game to one mission to the end of that mission. Because that was the reason I was really hyped for the patch, because I hadn't played for a couple of days before then, and then I heard that and I thought, well, that's fantastic for people who just want to build their characters. At least every gear you pick up at that stage is something you want to look at. And then it was such a misfire with the patch notes, and it was so disappointing that then when problems like the challenges, which I'll let you explain, and other stuff like that, problems that come from the patch, they looked worse because I was already annoyed by the fact that the blues weren't actually as communicated as they were at first.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's once again like a symptom of a bigger problem, right? Like, how does that go from a game wide like solving of a problem, right? Essentially, I've heard people say like blues fit into some builds better than others. Yeah, okay, sure. Um, but like for the majority of the people, it almost seems like blues have just become redundant to pick up, right? You get it, you dismantle it, you get the materials, right? I've offered suggestions of an auto dismantle when you pick up a blue if like they're not going to make the change that they originally said they were going to make kind of into the game. But once again, like it's like, how do you go from like this being like a world game thing to like, oh, now you got to do the vault, now you got to complete the vault, and it's just like, how do you reach that? Like, I mean, 6 steps of separation between people, but like, is there really 6 steps of separation between like these systems in play here? Like, it's like how like oh my god, like when I was made clear that, because I had woke up and I guess the changes had already been made in the patch notes, right? I remember seeing Play Avenger tweet it, and then when I went through and read it, I guess my brain didn't pick up because I like woke up, got ready, filmed the video, so like my brain wasn't kind of there. So afterwards, I think you had tweeted it out to me, and then some others had tweeted it out to me, and I was like, wait a second, hold the fucking front door
Yeah,
here, like,
yeah.
and I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, And like there was some other things too that were obviously changed in the patch notes as well, right? If I might be misremembering, but I believe there was some other things that were kind of changed in the wording to kind of reflect like what they were actually kind of going for there. Um, and once again, like I'm not 100% on that, but once again, like how do these things happen? Like and like we can get into the challenge rating stuff too, because I know there's two sides of the challenge rating debate. And I've tried to play both sides pretty equally here, obviously. Um, but once again, like it seems like whether it's kind of the communication or they're making changes without kind of wholesale explaining what the changes are going to lead into. It just seems like something is broken in their process, right? Whether it's coming from top down and like it's lost in translation, or at the end of the line they're not getting the full communication of what's being made, so they're having to take a guess at what's being changed. Is it too many different teams are working on it? You have Crystal Dynamics, you have Crystal Dynamics Northwest, you have Nyx is working on it. Like, is there too many cooks in the kitchen at that point? Like what is going on that like they can't get their patch notes in order to kind of briefly explain what is going on, that like that
I,
to me is like the biggest thing, I guess, on a macro perspective.
what it feels like to me is, and again, I've no clue about anything game development wise, but what it feels like to me is, it feels like they've jotted down notes about what's in this patch note. So, for example, a really basic way like that, what they put originally was that is something they would understand if they knew the change. Does that make sense? Like if you say like
Mm,
I don't know, for example, you're making a sandwich, right? And you just put ham sandwich, but you've actually put a different sauce in there. You've done this, you've done that, right? So
right, right.
it's kind of like after power level 80, don't worry, no blues. If you make that change, so if I designed it for the vaults to no longer drop blues after whatever, I would know what that meant. Right, so
Yep.
it's almost like they're writing it down for their own sake, and whoever writes these patch notes has taken those notes rather than how they would be conveyed to the public. And obviously the problem is, and it's similar to what we meant with the weekly blogs, is it's that lack of I mean, I say that I don't actually know if it's a lack of, because it's probably not. If they wanted to, make them absolutely top tier, I'm sure they would want to do that. But there's clearly an issue here because, the moment these patch notes came out, it was the community that rushed to let someone from the team know that these are not right, and it shouldn't be a community effort all the time. It should be something that you shouldn't have to be concerned with, and stuff that comes out on the patch notes, you should know for a fact that is what is going on, not that sounds a bit too good to be true. Is that wrongly worded? Because now the next patch that comes out, right, and the patch notes in that, we're going to be concerned that maybe like something really cool that's been added may not be as cool after all.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, it's given precedent. Is it precedence? But you're giving validity to the people who say like we're beta testing the game. I guess you know what I mean. Like, how many times I've seen that comment? Like, oh, people are,
Yeah,
like you start talking about playtests, and someone will be like, we're actually been playtesting this game since September. Didn't you know that? And I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, because like these people are actually being validated at this point, right? Like, I can't be like, no,
exactly.
man, because like I'm like, yeah, at this point you're fucking right, dude. Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck, like.
it gets to a stage where you think to yourself, we like one day I was playing, and again it sounds so negative, and it's just, but it has to, you have to say these things like it is sometimes, where I was playing and I had a bug where I fell through the floor, and I was having loads of multiplayer bugs that day, and you get worn down by that, and you think no matter how good the core game is, these things get so annoying, right? And
Yeah.
then you think to yourself that maybe those claims are right. Maybe maybe there is. Maybe we are play testing for like a relaunch and stuff like that. But I think something to just recall is that there's a reason that we are so into this community, and the reason why we're having this conversation, right, is because we see something great with this game, and whenever there's problems like with communication with anything, the reason it annoys people is because they want to see the game and the team be better, right? and that's what I think that, obviously there's people that are on the opposite side that just want to see the world burn, right? But obviously there's, I wouldn't personally have this conversation if I didn't want to see the team succeed. And at the moment, with the Clint deep dive coming up, but also the patch notes and the challenge lock situation and all that, it's put it in the middle again where it's hard to be excited when the game at the moment is struggling so hard. And so my mind is in two separate places, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, you're 100% correct, right? How is it? How can you be excited about the future when the present is kind of not falling apart, but it's holding on by the seams? Well,
Yeah.
you brought up the challenge rating or the challenge locks, and let's actually just kind of quickly go over that. I put out a video this week, kind of expressing my concern over kind of what looks to be a part one of two plan. Now the harm. So for anyone who doesn't know, the challenge change that was kind of implemented was that you can't complete challenges in the harm room. So what people would do is instead of kind of going out into like a drop zone or a daily villain sector or what have you, they would go into a harm room and they would go into a solo harm room and they would just run through the challenges as quickly as possible. Get your challenges done and you're pretty
Yeah.
much done, you're done, right?
Yeah.
What they did was they kind of disabled that, and I had said the problem with disabling that, while I understand that maybe it doesn't fit into the philosophy of your game, is the problem is you've kind of built this dependency for a lot of these players on it, right? And I had expressed that if you're going to make a change like this, a change should come alongside new content, new challenges, new ways to kind of
Mm.
gain these challenge points and everything else, right? My point was in a lot of things that this game does, nothing is ever really wholesale, right? So everything that this game is kind of interlocked, right? Each system is kind of interlocked with another system and kind of so on and so forth. Now the problem is when you start changing one thing, it kind of throws everything else out of whack. Even if it's not meant to be, it's because the players have kind of built up this dependency on these systems. So I'd love to get your thoughts on it if you have any, because my thought was if you're going to start making changes like this, make it alongside new content to kind of not so much as like you're taking things away, but you're replacing things, you're supplementing things. Because players, when you start making changes like that, all they're going to see is you're taking my favorite way to grind away. Why? What are you doing that for? I paid $10 for this challenge card and I can't grind it how I want. Why are you going to do that to
Yeah.
me? And like I said, even if it doesn't fit into the design philosophy of the game and how you're supposed to, how you're supposed to grind, what you're doing to the players is a totally different perspective. So yeah, no, please, I would love to hear what you have on that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I never, I don't like the harm rooms. Right, that's just me personally. I find them really boring. Right,
Mm-hmm.
it's very tedious sort of thing. So, and when it comes to getting the challenges done and stuff like that, to me they seem to have come really naturally and seem to have been one of them things where uh, I've been able to do just by general gameplay alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been one of those things where for me it's not really a big change. I understand people's opinion, and the thing is the dev team have been known at this point to remove like the patterns with shield missions, the elite dude in Day of Remains that you could farm over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
the harm rooms and stuff like that. And like you said, they've not introduced anything else. They've not introduced an alternative for those things. And instead, like upgrade modules at the moment, I don't know if they're fixed because I'm locked to challenge 2. So like, but obviously they went down to 10 and stuff. And obviously that wasn't a purposeful nerf apparently, but it's all these things, and it just thinks like, why are you punishing the players, right?
Yeah.
Because it's people who are sticking around during the bad times. If anything, you should probably like. I get the bugs. Not one. This isn't a bug, but I get that like the patterns and so on were bugs, and I get that like it's not a part of a design philosophy. But those problems should be after when you've brought when you have no other issues, well not no other issue, but you've got less issues to contend with, because at the minute you've got a gear system to fix, you've got content coming out, you've got multiplayer bugs, you've got these bugs that have been plaguing the game since launch, and you're worried about the fact that people can do their challenges in harm rooms, and it just seems a bit backwards.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect way to say it, right? It's like instead of conquering the biggest issues, you're putting more resources out there. And once again, maybe like this is something they've conquered like a long time ago, and they're just putting it out now. But I think the point remains is that there's so many things that like to the players are a higher priority, and it seems like the priorities of the developers and the priorities of the players are mismatched, right? Players want Omega level threats. They want cloning labs. They want this multiplayer bug to be resolved as quick as possible. They want new content. They want new villains. Like they want stuff that really makes an immediate impact on the game. And developers like, yeah, you guys want to grind the high room? Yeah, go fuck yourselves, you know. And like not as
Yeah.
obvious, and not as obviously as vocal or vicious as
No,
I might
like
have. But like,
yeah,
but the point remains is like, yeah, they're gonna take away the
it's
fun stuff for the people that are trying to play the game on a daily or every other day basis or a weekly basis. You know what I mean? And like we're the ones that are suffering. And once again, like I said before, I never did the harm room stuff, but there were so many people that came to me and they're like, man, this is a huge fucking nerf for me. Like this sucks. And like I had to sit down and like really think about it. And I was like, yeah, like for the people who did the harm room stuff, this sucks. Like I didn't do it. So like for me, like my shit doesn't change. But like I'm here to try and voice the people that are like kind of in my comment section, be like, John, like this sucks, man.
yeah,
Like because like I feel
yeah.
like a little
That's
bit responsible to kind of put a video out and like say like, listen guys, like you guys fucked up. Like you can't like fuck your players without taking them to dinner first. You know what I mean? Like you got to give them something
yeah,
before you
no.
fuck them a little bit, because like at that point you're just kind of just you're just taking shit away. And like these players like, and we don't know the straw that's going to break each of these camels back, but I guarantee every sort of thing that they do that impacts a player negatively is just one more thing that's going to push a player away. And at this point in time, you need to like either ignore some of the things that maybe aren't what you're really looking to fix right now. So like maybe this is something you put off for another little while, and you bring out things that are really going to bring players back. You start pushing out fixes that are great for you. Like, yeah, this is great. Like no more grinding the harm room. This is wonderful. But for the players, it could be like, I'm going to go see you on Warframe, dude, later. Like at this point,
Yeah,
it's like,
like
yeah, I don't know.
there isn't going to be anyone that reads those patch notes and gets excited about the fact that they have one less area place to grind now. You know,
Yeah.
there isn't going to be people that read like like I mentioned before, the patterns and think, oh great, I can't grind them
Yep.
anymore.
Yep.
And the problem is with all these patches comes a load of problems because they don't have maintenance. Like games like the Division have or other sort of big multiplayer games, so they can't sort of see how the patch works beforehand during these maintenances. And obviously with these patches come more problems, so not only is there problems with this patch, but you've also taken something away from the player, so that's a double smack. And then especially players who come back because they think, oh finally a patch, we've not had one since December. And they see it and they think like, oh, no more blues at power level 80, brilliant, awesome. Oh, that's not true. Oh, look, the challenges, like the difficulties have been locked for some reason. Oh, can't grind in harm rooms anymore. you know uh Battery damage is broken on Iron Man's missiles and stuff like that, and it just makes you think to yourself like, why did I come back? Right.
I
And
yeah.
and it's disappointing because at the moment all players have is the next character, because whether that's broken or not, it's still going to be fun to be able to play as a new hero that you haven't been able to play as yet. But these fixes and these awkward moments, I suppose, if they're going to ever happen, they need to happen in a time where obviously at the moment the game you know it isn't booming, but
Mhm.
because it's like a weaning stage, so to speak. But at the same time, you also need to sort of satisfy the players who are sticking around during the weaning phase, and removing farmable things just makes someone want to play even less.
Great point. That's a great point. Kind of one of the things I want to talk about too, obviously this week is you kind of talked about giving the players something. So I mean, I feel like this is the perfect segue into Iron Knight. I don't know about you, but
Guys,
I let me set the stage for anyone who doesn't know. So last week, Phil on the dev stream had mentioned an Iron Man with a cape. Now, I was covering that stream, just like many others in the community were. Many of the community were watching that stream, and I had kind of jumped to the infamous Iron Man kind of boat. just like many others did. Now, kind of as the days went on, people had jumped to 3099, people had jumped to Iron Dracula. But for the most part, people had jumped on the infamous Iron Man train, and I was choo choo, like I was all aboard it, thinking. Now, there's a few things I want to talk about first. Now, there's people who say it's Doctor Doom, it's not going to happen. Well, to that, I would say that obviously U.S. Agent isn't Captain America, but we have a U.S. Agent costume, right? So there is one precedent there set by the team that they could put a costume for a different character on the mainstay character. So with that being said, I had thought it was going to be Infamous, and I was very disappointed to see Iron Knight. Now, granted, Iron Knight, personally, Stardust, I'm going to say it's not a bad skin. It's not a bad skin. It is definitely a reuse of assets. It's definitely Mark 1 that's kind of done up and fancied around and added a cape and so on and so forth. But it's not a bad skin. But the problem was the communication around it. Once again.
Yeah.
What do you please walk me through what you thought kind of from Friday onwards.
Okay, so when because I actually wasn't able to watch this stream, so every note that I got from friends, and when Phil had mentioned, when I saw in the notes Phil had mentioned an Iron Man cape skin will be coming out, I went to the same conclusion, right? And
Yep.
I thought to myself, well, hang on, maybe Infamous may be too much of a stretch. Let me Google some different, Iron Man with a cape, and then I saw 3099. It was concept from Future Fight or something
Yep.
like that.
No, you're right.
And,
You're right.
Yep. And I was thinking about that. That looks excellent. I mean, the concern I always thought with Infamous was, are they not just going to have a grey normal Iron Man with a green cape and be done with it? Because that would be not really what people would want from that skin. So, I was more concerned about not the if they were to do Infamous, how are they going to make it look? If they were to do these skins that people desperately want, is it going to be to their standard, or will it just be grey Iron Man with a cape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out and it was Iron Knight, a part of me sighed a bit of relief for him, because even though they mention Iron Man with a cape and a community, and to be fair, rightfully so, because Phil really seemed excited, because I went back to watch it, right, and it was a bit like, if I get Iron Knight is different, but I wouldn't have even hyped it up. I wouldn't have even
Mm-hmm.
spoken about it personally, because I think you mentioned this when you were talking about it, that if it's nothing that if it's not Infamous, if it's nothing huge like that, don't mention it, because if they didn't talk about it and we went to go look at a marketplace and we saw Iron Knight, we'd think, wow, that's cool, But because the impression was, okay, this must be a big skin, everyone, Infamous, 3099, what is it, and it turned out to just be reused assets. It was very much in line with how people feel about all of the game thus far, hyped up but then reused assets, and it's because that's how people felt about Kate. I like Kate. I liked her missions, but a lot of people thought, okay, this is a lot of hyped up for reused assets, and it's similar to Iron Knight, and it's similar to how a lot of people are concerned leading up to Clint. And I think that, I mean, I like the skin. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But again, similar to the point just made, I would have liked it a lot more if they hadn't have hyped it up and the community run with it, because of course anything that could be cool is instantly taken and run with and speculated on, because there's a lack of that already.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the perfect thing, right? That's exactly my point, right? Is like any sort of information we do get, we're gonna stretch it as far as we possibly can to try and see if we can extract any sort of ending out of it, right? So when like you took the words right out of my mouth, right? When something's said and it's hyped up, the community is gonna run with it, and it's just that's exactly what we did. And I had to come out and like say I'm sorry guys, like because at some point like it also makes me look stupid, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now I got to think twice about getting excited when they get excited. You know, if they come on and say this is coming, this next maybe next week, possibly next week, this is gonna drop possibly, and like I get excited. Well, now wait a second, I got to go back and I got to like really restrain myself because I have an obligation to the people that watch to make sure that like if I'm gonna say something now, even if it's coming from a developer's mouth, I can't speculate too hard on it. I can't get too excited because then there's a possibility that it happens and it's not what we think it is based on the words that are said, right? The hype doesn't the hype doesn't match the reality, so to speak. So now it puts me and like other content creators in a bind because like if we can't take words said from a developer, and like this isn't to say anything about Phil personally, like he could have been genuinely excited for it, right? He could have been looking at Iron Knight and said this is going to be a great skin. But the problem is like the reality just doesn't match like the expectations that he's setting on it, right? Like, and because of it, now a bunch of us, you know, look kind of stupid, to be frank. Like I'm not trying to come on here and shit on them today. Like, you know, that's not what I invited you on for. You know, I invited you on for fun conversation, but you know, I'm not here trying to like look stupid either. And unfortunately, when I have to make a video saying, guys, listen, you know, the skin wasn't what we thought it was, wasn't what I thought it was. I hyped it up. I'm sorry, guys. Like, it makes me feel like an ass, I guess, you know, and
I, I,
it sucks.
I so when I saw that video, I was so confused because I thought to myself like, no one should be apologizing or any content creators. You know what I mean? Because you make content on Avengers, therefore you're gonna obviously you're a fan of the game and so on. So the idea of be speculating and making hype is a part of the parcel, and
Sure.
you have a show where you talk, you think your thoughts and you say them out loud, so that you thinking it's infamous and people also running with that. I think whether you had said it or not, people who watch your videos would have said, "Oh, that could be infamous. Oh, that could be," and people speculate anyway. Like as soon as I saw Iron Man with a cape, I thought infamous, and then I thought 3099. It's just naturally what conclusion you'd come to,
Yeah.
because I think that with Avengers at the moment, a lot of people take every single thing they do as a clean slate. At least I do anyway. Whenever, so say this deep dive, from deep dive onwards, it's clean slate in my mind, which is obviously wrong because then something may happen, like they'll announce another Omega level threat during Clint's deep dive, and a week later it will be delayed or something, right? And then but I think that being hyped for something isn't exactly wrong. It is a shame that you have to, people feel a little bit like, well, it's going to be hard to get hyped, if that's what they're excited about. But it also goes back to the whole Scott Amos smiling when he said that Kate was going to be before the end of the year, right? It's one of them things where people think you're excited about that. We were supposed to get her in October. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And it's where people think, like, if you're that excited about that, getting content out that you promised this year before the end of the year, then gritted teeth. But I think that you've just got to see it as they're learning clearly, because this development team, at least CD, are so unused to this kind of attention as well, I would say, and this kind of game, and they've never really needed to have this huge social presence before. At least I don't think so. Like from the games that they've made in the past, and I think that it's probably new for them. So I think they're learning a lot of this on the go as well. And I think this is why we're seeing a lot of communication problems. But I'd like to imagine that, as long as the game's okay, it will get to a point where we'll laugh about these sort of things. Like, do you remember when Phil hyped up this Iron Man cape skin and it turned out to be reused assets? Or do you remember when, like, about 30 Omega level threats were delayed and, and all that? And hopefully, it gets to a point where everything is as they say it is, rather than us being too afraid to get excited.
I mean, yeah, it's a good point. We could back this train up a little bit and kind of just go right into like Tuesday then, because we know that with no dev stream, Friday that they had to take some time to prepare because Monday is a holiday for them. Kind of give me your thoughts of like what they're preparing for. If there's anything more other than a video coming on Tuesday, give me your kind of round thoughts on what is coming Tuesday and next week.
I have been when it was first announced, I really wanted them to go down a similar path to Kate's, but blow us away with it. So some people say they pretty much announced Black Panther during Kate's stream. You know, they said like, "Oh, War Table was going to be different," but obviously Chadwick Boseman, and I understand that, and I think that the reason they didn't say anything rather than a logo is because they'd rather announce him in a cool fashion, and I think doing it similar to Clint. About Clint, and then we'll get a final trailer, and it will be a Panther trailer, and it will talk about the raid, and it will be all this, and it will be like, oh, we'll hear more from Scott Amos or whatever, soon. But I wanted this to be a good opportunity because it's the first War Table, deep dive of the year. And even though, yes, it's for Clint, I would love to see them mention what's going on with Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, then we can see stuff about, Panther. Even if it's Clint, Panther trailer, then Spider-Man logo with the release date, right? For him,
Mm.
maybe. And because obviously at the moment Spider-Man's still a touchy subject, but a lot of the PlayStation players, if not all of them, really want to play as Spider-Man, right? Including myself, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So, having a deep dive like that and an ending with that, that's to me that's perfect. I don't think you can do any better than that. Obviously, they're talking about next gen as well. With PS5 and the Xbox version. I would personally put Spider-Man on the PS5 cover. Xbox, I'd make things just. I'd put a lot of meat on this next gen bone, and I would really hype it up as something that people need to go and look at. PS5 comes out version that comes with Spider-Man, and when Panthers release, Spider Man's out at the same time. Xbox, don't worry about the fact you're not got Spider Man because, we've still got Panther, we've got the Raid, we've got all of this stuff. We've got our Taken King event, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so what that will do, if they do it like that, is that gives people time to focus on Panther and Taken King, and Spider Man still gets his time to shine over on the PS, but obviously people are focused on Panther and Taken King anyway, that it doesn't cause too much controversy. And obviously they'll make Clint look as great as they possibly can, hopefully without any choppy gameplay. And and you've got the combat stream, Scott Amos, and I do think he'll probably just go into detail a little bit about some things, but if the stream devs War Table stream, there you go, ends up being those things, that'll be incredible. But that is really best case scenario.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Let's see if we can pad this best case scenario up a little bit. Do you think they'll talk about Omega level threats or Colony Labs in the deep dive?
No.
Okay. So
you know,
do you think that they will probably I would imagine that Clint would most likely come with one. I think Maestro would probably be a good Omega level threat, but do you think they won't even mention him being Omega level threat because of the issues that they're still ongoingly facing because of the network bugs?
I think it would be a terrible idea to announce an Omega level threat while there's already two that need to come out, right?
Yeah.
That okay, say Clint's next week, like the week after Tuesday, just people will have no faith that an Omega level threat's going to come out with Clint because the two that we were supposed to get aren't even out yet, and if that gets delayed, you've got 3 pieces of delayed content, and that does not look good, right? That
True.
that's. I mean, two doesn't look good, but three's even worse.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a lot safer if they just say, we'll talk about Omega level threats in the blog or something. Just try and hype towards stuff that they know for a fact is going to happen. Yet rather than things that they just hope they can get ready in time, because all that does is put pressure on them, and a lot of the time they don't meet that. you know,
True.
and like
True.
they hit and they miss. So it's best to focus on the things that you're sure of rather than announce it, because obviously with Kate, they announced her Omega level threat. I believe it was like what, a week or two after she came out, and then in my head I'm thinking to myself, why did you announce that 2 weeks before if it wasn't going to be ready for now? You've just shot yourselves in the foot, and please don't do it again. You
Yeah.
know, if once the Omega level threats are ready and you've conquered the bug, do your own video for them. You know, do a different video for them, because they're clearly such a big deal that the community has been waiting for ages. But if you promise something again, especially when you're trying to garner hype over Clint, no
Yeah.
one's going to believe you, and it's just going to put a sour taste, and people will remember Cloning Labs and remember Super Adaptoid, and just it will put a sour on it.
True. All right. I mean, that's fair predictions here. I'll give you my prediction. I'll give you two scenarios here, and
Okay.
I'll give you best case scenario, and I'll give you probably what's gonna happen. So
Oh no.
best case scenario is that we get a nice trailer for Clint, showcases kind of some of the beats of the story, gets you really excited for it, gives you kind of more footage of Maestro. You get a Black Panther trailer kind of introducing Black Panther. You get a nice wide shot of Wakanda kind of showing off kind of the visuals of it. You get a
Mm.
trailer for Spider-Man. It's not going to be just a logo. They'll give you some actual footage of
Oh.
Spider-Man. This is best case scenario. Let's remember best case scenario.
Yeah.
They'll give us kind of like our first look at kind of Peter, and kind of maybe they'll kind of do like a swinging into the camera, or a web shoot into the camera, and that's how the trailer ends, something like that maybe. In terms of the content, this best case scenario, I think they'll introduce Cloney Labs when Clint releases, and then after that you'll kind of have like a 2 week gap between Super Adaptoid, and then you'll have another 2 week gap for Maestro coming after that. But that's what I would hope would happen. That's a hope. On top of the
Mm.
hope would be next gen releases on the 16th, and then you get Clint on the 23rd. So you get next gen day of to match with that random Russian retailer that said it, and then you get the 23rd, which is Clint release. So you have a week there with with the combat stream on the Friday. Now, what I really think is going to happen is that you'll probably just get a trailer with Hawkeye. You'll get a little snippet of Panther. You won't get any shot of Wakanda. It'll just be like a cutscene with Panther kind of introducing himself or talking or whatever, depending on how they want to go with that. You won't get
Yeah.
any sort of Omega level threat. You'll probably, like you said, you'll get kind of like a visual of the logo of Spider-Man again, saying like maybe they'll say like summer, like 2021, and then by summer they probably mean like the first week of September. And then like you'll probably just kind of get like that's it. Like that's probably it. You'll probably get Hawkeye. Maybe I still think Hawkeye is probably coming to 23rd. I can't see them announcing it 3 weeks early and then not giving Hawkeye like a week after. Like that would be brutal, to be honest with you. Like like if they're gonna flip schedules like that, right? Like it was like Kate, and then 3 weeks after Kate, it was like the release of Kate or whatever. But if they're gonna flip schedules and be like, hey, we're gonna give you like a 3 week runway to get ready for the Hawkeye War Table or the deep dive, whatever they're calling it, and then like you don't get Hawkeye like almost like a week after, like I feel like they're just like once again shooting themselves in the foot.
Mm.
Like there's only so much waiting they can get like make the community take, and because of that, like I just feel like it has to be next week, or sorry, not next week, but like the week after, right? So 2 weeks essentially, I guess. Anything longer than that is just like why?
Yeah, I think that like with our predictions of mentioning that we might see anything with Panther and we might see a Spider-Man logo, it makes me, no disrespect to Hawkeye fans, before I say this, right? It makes me feel bad that they have to call it a Hawkeye deep dive when when we predict that they might show some Panther stuff and Spider-Man stuff, because again, no disrespect to Hawkeye fans, but I think saying anything with Black Panther reveal or Black Panther and Spider Man reveal like that to me would sell more tickets, so to speak, to the show.
I
And
mean, yeah,
I think that. obviously, if they want to surprise it, then good, good for them. But
Hmm.
I think that with the hype already being where it is for another Archer character, I think that having it as um, Clint deep dive with Panther and Spider-Man hid in there is probably not going to be the best idea for them. So what I would like them to do is, if it turns out to be, what we want it to be, they release the Spider-Man and Hawkeye, not Hawkeye, Black Panther stuff separately from that deep dive.
Mm.
Similar to how like gaming events do it, where they'll show a trailer in like the Game Awards and it'll upload separately, right? And I think that would generate a lot of hype, because then that's news on three heroes in one day. You can't ask for more than that, really. And I think that if they manage to have Omega level threats pretty much ready, then I mean, great. It's not something that I'm holding my breath for, but if they
Well,
can give us as much as possible, then great.
well, here's the question that I'm gonna ask you, simply
Okay.
because like no dev stream, like we I know like the dev stream can pull them away from meetings and so on and so forth, but when they say like they have to get ready for next week, does that imply to you that there's gonna be like maybe like a roadmap announcement or anything like that? Like I know you just talked about pulling Black Panther and Spider-Man away from Clint's deep dive and kind of giving them their own space. Does any of this like feel like to you maybe they're getting ready to talk about a roadmap, or not even like a roadmap for the next like year, but maybe until like maybe September, kind of giving us like a view of like the next like kind of short term future while they still kind of map out like the back half of 2021.
I am concerned that we're doing a very similar thing that we were worried about 20 minutes ago, when we were talking about how Phil sounded really excited about Cape Time Man, and then we speculated and then it turned out to be not what we thought. So the thing that I'm concerned about is reading too deep into that, and then next
Mm-hmm.
week and it's just a deep dive, and it's just after that a normal week. um what I would love that. I would love them to release that roadmap. I'd love them to be prepared for a lot of media attention, because they're going all out next week. I'd love it. But at the moment, due to the fact that it feels like every time we get excited about speculation, we get burned a little bit, I don't want to go over the top with my hopes for it. I do believe that at the moment they're just getting ready for the Hawkeye deep dive. They're getting ready for the next gen information. Obviously, they've got the Clint showcase stream to do as well. At the moment, in my head, that's what they're getting ready for. But obviously, if they come up with anything more than that, like a roadmap, then that's just a bigger win. I was explaining this to a few friends before, how it sucks that we have to lower expectations, but as such a Marvel fanboy and someone who just wants this game to be a huge thing in the media and everyone loves it, it still gets to a point where you do have to look at the history so far and think to yourself, okay, maybe I won't get too excited just yet, right?
Well,
Seeing is believing, so to speak.
well, I mean, at that point, you've passed the test. I set you up for it, and you didn't fall for it. So you're a better person than I am, because all aboard the roadmap hype train. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like at some point, you kind of look into things, and you're like maybe, but like at the end of the day, I agree with you. Like seeing is believing, and until and like obviously, I'm gonna set that question up because maybe clicks and bites and headlines and all sorts of crazy stuff, right? But at the end of the day, like you're 100% right. Like obviously it's probably more so like getting to make sure like all the blogs go up at the same time, all the socials hit at the same time, the video is actually gonna like upload or premiere or whatever they're doing for it at the time that they want it to, right? One of the
Yeah,
things you saw that Facebook post go up a little early, right? And everyone was like, "Oh my god, really?" And then it's like, "Wait a second," and that's just
yeah,
and like you can't have that happen over the weekend when you're on holiday, right? So it's like make sure like if you're gonna hit these marks, whether it's just some tweets or a blog post to go alongside the deep dive, it's the video itself. Make sure it goes live, right? Like like we need to know. And like it's crazy that a mistimed Facebook post actually gave us the time that it's going live, like that
Yeah.
blows my mind, man. Like like out of everything, it's going to be a mistimed, like that right there just sums up how I personally think like this whole ship is being run right now, right? Like once again, no disrespect to anyone who's working on the game. I know you guys are working hard, but when a mistimed Facebook post is the source of information for the time that we're going to be expecting the video of a new character,
Yeah,
I
I mean, obviously there's full reasons to be frustrated by these things. I mean, there was a Cloning Labs one on the German Marvel Avengers
yes,
page
yep,
ages ago,
mm-hmm.
and it's another problem, with stuff like that. It's like giveth and taketh away, right? And it isn't. And the thing is, people are allowed to be frustrated by those things. It's unfair almost. It feels harsh, and obviously, I mean, I would like to say that I'm friends with Andy, right? And I like to
Mm-hmm.
say that I respect the dev team and all that. But obviously, I'm not. When people complain or negative criticisms or anything like that, it's not because fuck you. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's because we want things. It's because things can be better, and it's
mm-hmm.
just voicing frustrations to be like, this is the nice version of how the community are feeling at the moment. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
obviously, there's a darker area for that sort of stuff, and there's an area where it's like, okay, this isn't good, this is how you can improve it. But there are some things, like you said, with the mistimed Facebook posts and the patch note problem, where it's like, you know how to fix this. You know what I mean? Just tighter ship. that's
yep,
that's it.
yep. Well, with that being said, one last thing I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, when we talk about Hawkeye, there was the email that just came out. Did you read the email that just came
I
out?
did. I did read
Okay,
the email,
so give
actually.
me
I'm gonna.
give me give me your predictions story wise for Hawkeye, and that'll be the last thing. That'll be the bow at the end of this all. So give me your story predictions for Hawkeye, based on that email and what you think.
I feel like it's going to be the case of there's going to be two Clints. We've had a dodgy timeline, obviously, where Clint was taken away from the convoy area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also another timeline where he stayed, right? And that's going to be Old Man Hawkeye. And at the minute, laying in the bed is the Hawkeye of our timeline, when we pulled away. And I think that the story is going to be that we wake him up, but he's still having some problems, tachyon problems, and we have to go find other Hawkeye, and we have to basically fix the timeline so that it all becomes one again. We have
All
to
right.
mesh. We have to mesh the Clints together, right? I don't know how they'll do that, but I feel like the idea is that we have to go find Old Man Hawkeye, and you know, just sort it out.
I feel like at this point I'm just like Hulk standing there and just saying time travel, like you know what I mean. Like at this point, like there's like so many ways you could just do time travel that I think at this point, like who cares how do you explain it, right? When you say like mesh the two together, like yeah, cool, that sounds right. I mean, I'm time travel, I guess, right? Alternate timelines, whatever reality,
Yeah,
sure, yeah, totally, go for it. Like multiverse, I guess, right? That's the new thing, right? You throw your hands up in the air and you say multiverse, and all your problems are solved at that point. No, I mean like that's an interesting theory. I was thinking about just really quickly here. I was thinking about we were playing in the vision. Like he mentions like he's having visions, like a vision of the future. And I had
yeah,
thought we were gonna play in like the vision of the future and that we were gonna lose in this vision, right? And then he wakes
yeah,
up from the vision and he's like, oh, like I had this vision of the future where we lose, so now I know what we have to do in order to win, right? And then it takes you through like the second part of the story or whatever. Like maybe that was a play on it because it's really interesting that they mentioned vision, but like will we see the vision? Will we get to interact with the vision he's having, or is it just going to be like he's laying there motionless, dead to the world, and in his head he's like, oh, he must be having a vision, you know what I mean? Like it's a really interesting point that they've mentioned a vision. We'll have to see if they kind of follow through on it and see what we get out of it, right? Because that could be like a really interesting point of like him kind of interacting with this like future vision and him kind of going through this. And as a player, you kind of see, like one of the most interesting things about video games is when you're in you're in a predicament and the game's forcing you to lose, right? Only for you to
Mm.
learn from that loss and to take it to the next part of the game and like think about the lessons that the game has taught you and then go and win that next scenario, right? So like maybe there's a little bit of element in that there too, but I think either way, like both scenarios could like either work or like it could turn out really well. And I think like one of the things that they've nailed so far is like the story, which is really interesting because it's like I want more story. I want, and it's really interesting, like to say because like obviously I want more multiplayer content, but as like a Marvel fan and Avengers fan, I want more story too. Like I want more like
Yeah, yeah,
interactions. I want more cutscenes. I want more of this because like that's really the meat and the bones of like what they've been offering so far. And like the multiplayer stuff obviously is like the heart and the soul, and I want that. But if I can't get that because of stuff that's going on, then yeah, like give me more of the story because at this point, like I can't have both, so I might as well go with what I can get at this point, right? So
yeah.
hopefully we get some good stuff on Tuesday, man. Hopefully one of the things is I just hope next week is good. We seemingly sometimes these weeks go by and like nothing happens and it's a fun chill week, and then there's other times where it seems like everyone's ready to rip each other's heads off and get into arguments, and it's just like at some points I just like turn my Twitter off and I'm just like, okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow, like
Yeah, yeah,
because at some points I'm just like, yeah, okay, like I'm done. I'm gonna go play like something else and I'll just turn my Twitter off and I'll see you guys later because like and honestly I hope next week is a busy week, but it's a fun busy. We're speculating, we're theorizing, we're talking about what we saw, what we didn't see, the possibilities, like that's the fun part of being a part of this game, right? It's like taking existing Marvel knowledge and trying to apply it to this game and really try to dig deep on what they're going to pull from and what they're going to try and implement here and implement there. And unfortunately we've gone so long without that the only thing we're speculating on now is like, are the developers really working on Infamous Iron Man? Are they really giving us that skin? And
yeah, yeah,
it's like oh man, like just give me the good stuff, like
yeah.
just give me the stuff that really kind of makes me excited to be a fan because obviously I come on and I talk about the game with people and I make videos and I just want to come on and like interact with people that are enjoying themselves and enjoying the game and everything else, right? Like, and that's why like I'm happy to bring you on because even though you were critical, you can still tell that there's passion behind what you're saying, right? It's not like fuck this game, I'm just here to fucking make an appearance, fuck this, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
plug
yeah,
my shit and I'll see you later. Like when you talk about it, it's like, yeah, like he cares about it, he wants the game to be better, right? Like, and that's
yeah,
and and like everyone in the community for the most part, 99% of the people that I interact with and what I've seen, they're critical, but because they want the game to be better, they expect more out of the game, out of the IP, out of the developers, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? These are talented developers who have made some Tomb Raider games that have been pretty damn good, right?
they've been
Uh,
excellent. I think they're fantastic games.
right. Well, exactly. So when you look at like their history of like putting games together, there is a level of expectation that these guys need to hit. And unfortunately, whether it's due to not being, so familiar with, games as a service or online games in general, there's part of it that's just missing right now. And like I said, 99% of the people that I've seen talk about this game that aren't kind of shitting on each other in the comment section or tweeting at each other, but when they're actually discussing the game as a whole, they just discuss it as like this sucks, this sucks, but it
Mm,
sucks, but I want it to be better. I want this game
yeah,
to be better, right? And I think that's the thing. That's the thing we all want, right? Like no one wants to sit here and talk about a game that they're not excited to wake up and play or to spend some time and play or to get on Twitter and talk about a game that they're not excited to do anything with, right? Like for the most part people want to talk about things they're excited about, and that's the thing. And hopefully like next week, you said like maybe it's wrong to say like next week after the deep dive's a clean slate. I mean, maybe at some points it has to be, like
yeah,
maybe at some point you just kind of have to like just shrug it all off and say like, you know what, like if they fuck up Hawkeye, then I'm done. And just say at that point, like if they build off Hawkeye and Hawkeye's good, there's some solid foundation with Hawkeye, then you keep giving them chance after chance after chance. But that next time they kind of fuck up, you just say like, and that's it kind of thing. You wrap it up and you say like, I'm done. But we'll have to wait and see, man. We'll have to wait and see what they give us.
uh,
What Yeah, please go.
I mean, the thing is, like it won't take a lot because it's a Marvel game. It's Marvel's Avengers. All they need is one good month, man. And I really
Hmm.
think that would change the perception really quick. Like a good month of as little to no problems as possible, just everything going well their way. The deep dive, maybe OLTs come out and stuff like that. All it needs is one good month, and I do believe that perception would just flip.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nope. Yep.
obviously, carrying that momentum would be hard, but as long as they can prove that if they smash it and they get the credit for it, then at least it shows that there is something here that could become a gaming phenomenon if it got to a stage that we all want it to be. And all it needs is just that. Hey devs, look, when everything goes perfectly, look how loving we all are. We're
Yeah.
singing
Yeah.
kumbaya around the fire, like
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see how next week goes. I would like to think that realistically, I'm probably going to be about 75% happy with stuff, right? Because if it was 100%, it would be OLTs mentioned, Spider-Man. It'd pretty much be what you said best case scenario would be, to be honest. But
Yeah. No, fair enough, man. Well, here's the thing. I know you got some cool things coming up, with Hawkeye and everything else, man. So why don't you plug all your stuff coming up and let people know where to find you and whatnot as we kind of wrap up here.
whoo, right, okay. So, uh, one big thing that I do actually want to plug is I really want to plug my 24-hour live stream for Cancer Fund for Children. When we get the announced date for Clint, I'm going to publicly announce it on my Twitter at SlightStardust, where I'm going to be doing a 24-hour live stream for charity. Avengers Assemble Against Cancer on Just Giving. It's for a beautiful cause. Obviously, supporting children with cancer and their families as well, going through it. So that is Just Giving. Uh, Avengers
I'll
Assemble
I'll
Against
put
Cancer.
I'll put it in the description below. Don't worry about it. So it'll be in the
All right. I
description.
thought I thought I was gonna have to go through the full shebang. There.
No, no,
I
no, no,
was
no, no.
about ready to go through. I was about right. Hang on. How much time have I
No,
got?
no, no,
Wait.
no. The link will be the link for the charity drive will be in the description below, as well as all Stardust's socials and his Twitch and his YouTube and all that will be in the description below from
I'm
this
new
on out
to
with the
this.
videos. No, you're good, man. You're good. No, you're good, man. You know what? You gotta get used to it. It's but hey, you did all right. You didn't know I was gonna put it in there, so you tried to go for the full yardage, and I appreciate that. Yeah, no, please continue. I know you got some other stuff that you probably want to plug as well.
That's about it, mate.
Okay, making me
Yeah,
look stupid, eh? Making me look stupid. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, obviously, for myself, obviously, thank you for coming on. We'll do these again on the weekend. For anyone who doesn't know, Stardust is going to be joining me once again on weekends, and we'll be kind of just doing a quick recap, and we'll kind of talk about the week that we had, and then look forward to the week that is coming up, and we'll kind of be doing these. Once again, dude, enjoyed my time with you. Obviously, thank you so much for coming on and spending the last hour and however long, kind of shooting the shit. With that being said, obviously you guys know me as High Ruler. You can find me here at the channel. Subscribe, like the video, so on and so forth. Find me at Twitter at AssembleCast, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Well, no, I'll see you guys Monday for a Marvel Monday, and then I'll see you guys on Tuesday for the deep dive live stream coverage, and Wednesday for a Community Voices. Holy shit, got a lot coming up. Jesus, man. Jesus. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video today. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Later. Peace out. See ya.
Bye.